So I'm going to start with a question. Raise your hands if you ever played with Lego as kids. OK, quite a few hands. Well, great. Me too. Now, some of you probably had those amazing deluxe sets with thousands of pieces and step-by-step instructions that made you feel like a tiny architect. And then there were other kids who got a handful of random bricks, no manual, and an adult saying, "Just use your imagination." Look, I don't know if you ever tried to imagine your way into building the Eiffel Tower from 5 bricks, but let me tell you, it doesn't work. And honestly, that's exactly how science can feel for a lot of people. Some kids get the full box, the tools, the guidance, the encouragement to build anything. And then there are other kids who are given a few scattered pieces, no manual, and a voice saying, "Are you really sure you want to build that?" Today, I want to talk about a pattern, one that's holding us back. And if we keep on doing it, we might miss out on the chance to build something better. And what is that exactly? We put people into boxes. We tell them what they should be good at, what they should aspire to, and sometimes even what they shouldn't dream of. Take science, for example. For years, we've been fed the idea that it's only for a select few, the geniuses, the prodigies, the ones who were born for it. But let me ask you something. Is science really a gift that only a handful of people have? Or is it something that we can build, piece by piece, just like a Lego set? Well, I believe it's the second one. Yet too many people grow up believing that if they weren't naturally good at math, if they didn't love science from the start, or if they didn't look like the stereotypical scientist, then that means that STEM wasn't for them. And I know this because I've been there. As a young girl, I was passionate about literally anything but science. I used to draw, dance, paint, bake, play the piano, sing, you name it. But I was bad at math, and I didn't understand physics or chemistry. So, of course, none of my teachers ever told me that I could become an engineer. It was as if engineering school had a bouncer at the door, not checking for IDs, but checking for natural math skills, and telling me, "Sorry, kid, you're not on the list." And then one day in high school, something happened. I discovered biology, and I fell completely in love with it. I was reading biology books as if they were gripping mystery novels, with each discovery pulling me deeper into a world I couldn't get enough of. And as I studied page by page, I became fascinated by how biology, medicine, biomedical engineering, and technology in general could really change lives. And at the beginning, I was eager to share this new passion that I had developed, this new life plan that I mapped out. But then I started noticing people's reactions. A raised eyebrow, a hesitant smile, a casual remark about how science was really hard, or that engineering required a special kind of mind, and that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the right fit. Now, if you were to take out your phones right now and Google the word engineer in any language you want, this is what you would most probably find. Men in hard yellow or white hats staring at blueprints at a construction site, someone sitting at a desk looking at neon-colored lines of code and wearing a hoodie, or a guy in a lab coat fixing a complicated engine. And I know what you're thinking. That's true. You would also find some girls. But for sure, none of them are wearing glitter. This is the image we've been given. This is who we've been told fits into science and engineering. I didn't build robots in my garage when I was 10 years old, and I didn't spend my adolescence coding revolutionary software. So of course, when they told me that engineering was really hard and that it required a special kind of mind, I believed them. But science is not about fitting into a mold. It's about curiosity, about solving problems, about making connections where no one else has ever seen them before. And if we keep on telling people that they don't belong, before they even try, we're closing doors, not just for them, but for society as a whole. I truly understood this when I found myself thousands of miles away from home at 16 years old in a small village in Thailand. I was there as a volunteer teaching English to elementary school kids, and I had traveled all that way hoping to teach them a language that might open doors for their future. But it didn't take long to realize that actually it was them teaching me, because these kids, despite every challenge, understood something many of us take a lifetime to grasp. That studying and education is not just about school. It's not about memorizing facts to earn a diploma and hang it on a wall. It's a way to rewrite the whole future. But not just their own future, the future of their families, of their communities, and sometimes even that of the whole world. And when this path includes science, it becomes a powerful tool for innovation, progress, and change, with endless possibilities. I mean, think about it. Every major challenge that we face today, climate change, disease, access to clean water, food security, has one thing in common. Its solution will come from science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So let me ask you this. What if we stopped seeing education as an individual achievement, but rather as a responsibility? And what if we stopped seeing education as something we get, but rather as something we give? And what if we truly understood that every person who chooses to learn is not just shaping their own future, but also the future of all of us? But how many of you ever hesitated before doing something, just because you thought that you weren't going to be good at it? You thought that you would fail. Well, I know I have. I remember sitting in my first electronics engineering class, a room full of students, about 95% guys, who looked like they already knew exactly what they were doing. Meanwhile, I was sitting there staring at these equations that looked like they had been written in some sort of ancient, forbidden language. I mean, I was about to say it looks like Arabic, but actually I do speak Arabic. And let me tell you, at least Arabic has rules, and it makes sense. Those equations, complete gibberish. So picture this. There I was in my first class, in my carefully planned outfit, in my cute purple shirt, floral jeans, makeup, a glittery notebook, and a pink pen. I was ready. I was ready to study, I was ready to take notes, and I was ready to blend in. Well, let's just say joke's on me, because instead of blending in, let me tell you how I felt. I think that the best way for you to get the full experience is to imagine this. So imagine you're on a first date, and you end up at the new fancy French restaurant in town. One of those places where the menu has no translation. So you open it up, looking for a familiar word like pasta or beef. I mean, there's gotta be something, right? And instead you find médaillon de filet mignon sur son lit de purée de céleri pomme. So you play cool, hoping you didn't just order snails. Meanwhile, at the table next to you, they're discussing in French the best wine pairing with the waiter. And I think you get how I felt now, with guys on the first class talking about circuit boards or microcontrollers. Meanwhile, I was sitting there wondering if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. And in that moment, I had two choices. I could either walk away and convince myself that indeed, engineering was not for me, or I could stay, and I could struggle, and I could fail a few times, or actually fail a lot of times, and eventually figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. But as I was figuring it out, something started happening. Class after class, exam after exam, the environment around me started changing me. I toned down my style, I stopped wearing makeup, I stopped wearing bright colors. I adapted to blend in, because deep down, I subconsciously felt that I have to look like an engineer to be one, right? And that got me thinking, why was I feeling that way? Why were there only 5 girls in the room? Why did it look like I just had walked into a club I was never invited to? And the answer wasn't intelligence, and it wasn't capability. It was much, much sneakier than that. A lifetime of tiny, invisible messages that shape what we think we can and cannot do. I mean, think about it. When we learn about the great scientific discoveries, how many female names do we actually hear? When kids play, boys get toys that let them build, experiment, break, like rockets, science kits. Us girls, we get dolls, we get playhouses, we get tiny plastic kitchen sets. And here's the thing. I went through my entire undergraduate engineering program without ever having a female full professor, except for the economics course. So if a girl never sees herself in STEM, if she never sees anyone who looks like her in those roles, why would she believe she belongs there? And it's not just a gender problem. There's a deeply ingrained idea that engineering is boring, is complicated, for geniuses, that if you aren't naturally good at math, you should just give up. But I am living proof that's not true, because passion made me skilled, and not the other way around, because I fell in love with science when I understood it's like a magic wand to transform your ideas into reality, to solve problems, to build things, and to improve lives. That's when I became good at it. But actually, the biggest stereotype I ever had to face was not in the classroom. So let me tell you a story. Last year, I represented Italy at the 72nd Miss Universe competition. And let me tell you, nothing, and I mean nothing, brings out stereotypes more than putting together in the same sentence the words engineer and beauty queen. The moment people found out I was finishing my master's degree in bionics engineering, reactions started pouring in. Some were supportive, but many were shocked, to say the least. You're an engineer, but you don't look like one. As if there's a look for being passionate about engineering and technology. You're into STEM, so why are you in a beauty pageant? As if being a scientist means I cannot also celebrate femininity and self-expression. And yeah, my personal favorite. You must not be that serious about research if you also care about beauty. Right, because we all know that the true mark of a genius is looking like you just rolled out of a basement lab with nothing but caffeine and quantum mechanics. But I knew this wasn't just about me. And one day, I received this video, so let's watch it together.
Anna, tell us, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Scientist.
A scientist, and what else?
Princess.
A princess. Thank you, Carmen, for setting an example for my daughter. And being a special human being by blending beautifully these two roles together. Being a princess and a scientist.
And that's... And that's when it all clicked. This was never about breaking stereotypes for me to fit in. It was about making sure that every person in the world knows that they belong in STEM if they want to. That's how we reshape the future. We do not tell kids to fit in. We show them that they already belong. And that's exactly why I travel to schools all over the country, teaching science orientation classes, to make sure that the next generation falls in love with science and sees themselves in STEM before the world tells them that they don't belong. So the real question is, what if we redefined who a scientist can be? But let's take this idea even further. If technology already feels like science fiction right now, imagine what the world could look like if we removed all the psychological barriers that keep brilliant minds from contributing. I work in bioengineering, and when I talk about the research happening in the labs, people often say it sounds like science fiction. And in some ways, it does. Right now, I'm a research assistant at the Regenerative Technologies Lab at the Biorobotics Institute of the School of Advanced Studies Sant'Anna in Pisa, one of Italy's leading institutions in research and innovation. And I work with stem cells, cells that, unlike normal ones, have the incredible ability to transform into different types of tissues. And they could hold the key to doing something humanity has only ever dreamed of: rebuilding tissues, regenerating organs, or maybe regenerating entire limbs. We all know that lizards can regrow their tail, right? But what if we could regenerate our heart the way the Mexican tetrafish can? Or what if we could regenerate our limbs the way starfish do? Or dare I say, what if we could regenerate entire parts of our body the way the axolotl can? And our world is already filled with mind-blowing advancements: artificial organs, robotic exoskeletons, AI-driven surgical robotics, micro-cameras that travel through our bodies. But imagine where we could be if we truly unlocked the full potential of human inventiveness. And right now, a very small percentage of people choose STEM careers. How many brilliant minds are we losing? Not because they lack talent, but because they were told in one way or another that STEM wasn't for them. If we break those barriers, if we make science and technology more accessible, if we redefine who belongs in STEM, we won't just advance innovation, we will redefine what's possible. Because the next great discovery, the next revolutionary invention, the next scientific breakthrough that changes our world forever, it might just be waiting right now in the mind of someone who is wondering, do I belong here? And it's up to us to make sure that the answer is yes. Because the world doesn't just need a handful of prodigies, it needs all of us. It needs chefs who use chemistry to create unforgettable dishes. It needs musicians who harness acoustics to generate powerful sounds. It needs athletes who use biomechanics to enhance their performance. It needs dreamers who imagine a different world and ask the questions no one else is asking. So I want you to ask yourselves now, what is the barrier you have been told exists? And what is the dream you have convinced yourselves is out of your reach? And now I want you to picture breaking it. Because if we do this, if we remove the limits, if we hand out the Lego bricks freely, the world won't just feel like science fiction, we'll be living in it. And you know what the best part is? Is that you won't just be watching it happen, you'll be the ones building it.